Yo, listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world, and all day and all night and everything.
Okay, guys, today let's talk about Blue Beetle.
It's your favorite.
Yeah, what do you know about him?
Only what you've told me.
What have I told you?
I think he has like a backpack or something.
What I know so far is that he has this really cool scarab that gives him superpowers.
Okay, well, Blue Beetle's getting a movie soon, so you're about to learn a lot more about him.
He doesn't have a backpack, though? That's like the scarab turns into a backpack?
He does. In fact, I thought it'd be cool if we all watched the trailer together.
This is honestly like my most hyped DC movie for this year because it looks better than...
Yeah, I don't think you guys will be able to hear this.
You should.
Excuse me, Mr. Reyes?
Alright, let me drop the quality.
I got the audio.
You finished scraping the gum off that lounger or what?
Everything right now feels so out of reach.
You always land on your feet, bro. You're Jaime.
They don't get out much.
I just want to rap.
Penny?
Guard that with your life, but do not open it. You went in to get us jobs, and all you brought back was a hamburger?
Okay, I don't think it's a burger.
You haven't looked?
What the hell is that?
How did you get it to do that?
I think he likes me.
Weird way to get the beetle.
Yeah, alien face hugger style.
There's the backpack.
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want.
It's weird how well the song syncs with it.
Who said that?
Yeah.
It's okay, it's gonna be okay! Oh, space.
Re-entry systems ready.
Wait,
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want.
That's just as amazing to do.
What is going on?
I just want to rap.
It's called the Scarab. It's some kind of world-destroying weapon. It's designed to protect its host.
This ain't what you want.
Sometimes it does what you want, and sometimes it doesn't.
Body out of
How does she know that?
I think I cut a bus in half.
The Scarab chose you, but it belongs to me.
One of the things about him is that his family just knows the whole time.
Makes you weak.
That's the great thing about him, actually.
Like, he just like lets his family know, hey, I'm a superhero now.
The universe has sent you a gift, and you have to figure out what you're gonna do with it.
That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Whatever you can imagine, I can create.
Ah, you're the girl, okay.
Let's party.
Is that the Buster Sword?
It looked like it.
Yeah, for something in the game.
It's like Batman stuff. Batman's a fascist.
I just want to rap.
He kind of is. Is Batman not kind of a fascist?
He's not. He just has some control issues. Hang on, it's something I saw in this shot here.
It's like Batman stuff.
Yeah. Yep, there it is, right there.
It's like Batman.
The shield?
No, right here. That's Dan Garrett, and over here is Ted Kord's outfit. So that means this means Jaime's the third Blue Beetle.
That's how she knew about it then.
I suppose so. Okay, so Jaime Reyes is the third Blue Beetle. His predecessor was Ted Kord, and Ted Kord's predecessor was Dan Garrett. You see, Dan Garrett, he has a complicated history because he was I guess he was almost a pre-Golden Age superhero, honestly. Basically, Dan Garrett was an archaeologist. He found an ancient Egyptian tomb where he found the scarab sitting on a pedestal, and he just decided to take that, as you do when you're an archaeologist in these types of stories. Turns out it was a magic artifact, and when he shouts Kaji Da, it gives him superpowers in that costume. Sometimes. Honestly, the costume kind of varied. But later on, through some incidents, Ted Kord was asking him for help. Things went bad, and Dan died in front of Ted. But before Dan died, he passed on the scarab to him. And Ted promised that he would carry on Dan's work of, heroic, saving people and all that. But unfortunately, Ted could never get the Scarab to work for him. Whenever he said Kajida, nothing happened. So, instead of giving up, he decided that he was going to become basically Batman he's Blue Batman. He became Blue Batman. Yeah, he invented this flying machine called the Scarab. The Bug. He invented this flying machine called the Bug, which was basically his Zord that accompanied him on all of his missions. He came down on his enemy Spider-Man style, punching and kicking away through him. He invented like some sort of sound cannon to disable his opponents. He was a gadgeteer, essentially.
Huh.
Much like Batman, he ran his own multi-million-dollar company, Cord Industries, which is where he got the tech and funds to make all his stuff. Unfortunately for Ted, his career was kind of short-lived. He kind of came down with a heart condition, and so he had to stop being a hero, for his own safety. But one thing led to another, and he ended up investigating this big conspiracy set up by a supervillain named Maxwell Lord. Maxwell Lord used to be this, he sponsored the Justice League International. The team where Blue Beetle met Booster Gold. Those guys usually come in a pair, the blue and the gold. But unfortunately, Ted's reputation took a really bad hit while he was on that team, to the point where no one takes him seriously anymore. So while he was investigating this conspiracy, tracking down clues, he got no support from the rest of the superhero community. So that's why Dan found himself alone, infiltrating Max's evil lair, and Max got the jump on him. It turns out Max's evil plan was that he was going to basically destroy the superhero community by activating one of Batman's, emergency protocols for if a superhero ever goes bad.
Or like Justice League Doom.
Exactly. Except in this one it was called Brother Eye.
I've heard of Brother Eye before.
Yeah, it's basically Skynet. Yeah, so Maxwell Lord commandeered that and was going to use it to take down all the superheroes because he thinks the world would be safer without him. Ted found out, and of course, Ted did the thing that every supervillain wishes they could do, or probably should have done. Well, he pulled out a gun and shot Blue Beetle in the head.
Oh.
And that's how Ted...
Do I look like Batman, you musty bitch?
Yeah, well, honestly, he did give the typical speech of, come to the dark side, join me, help me out. Blue Beetle, and Ted just told him to screw off, and so Blue Beetle died. His friend Booster Gold is a time traveler, so he tried to save Ted, but time travel nonsense prevented him from pulling that off. And for whatever reason, the magic scarab that, the Dan Garrett found, the one that Ted can never activate, ended up in the hands of the wizard Shazam, of all people.
Shazam the wizard?
Shazam
is a wizard.
Okay.
Billy is Captain Marvel.
I think Captain Marvel's name is officially Shazam now. I think
that's his official name, but Shazam was the wizard's name.
Yeah,
before.
I think Marvel finally won that lawsuit or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess to clarify, there was a Captain Marvel at Marvel Comics, and there was a Captain Marvel at DC Comics, and basically they've been going at it about who's the real Captain Marvel all these years, and I guess since the title of the book was just Shazam anyway, everyone called the character Shazam. DC just figured, why are we still doing this?
Interesting. I never knew that.
And since Marvel is, Marvel, they decided to do that too, I believe.
Yeah, actually Marvel has 2 Captain Marvels now. Potentially 3, I'm not sure.
They're about to make a movie with all 3 of them.
Yeah, Carol Danvers is the current Captain Marvel. She got promoted from Miss Marvel, and then a new girl came in and called herself Miss Marvel since the name was available. Okay. Alright, back to Blue Beetle. Alright, so Shazam found himself in acquisition of the Scarab, but he got attacked by, honestly, I'm not even sure anymore. But the point is, the Rock of Eternity, where Shazam lives, was destroyed, and that's where we finally meet Jaime Reyes. He was just walking home from school one day when suddenly debris from the Rock of Eternity just started showering across the city. And for some reason, instead of the fire raining down from the sky, he was drawn to the ground where he found this shiny blue jewel, the Scarab. So he took it home with him because he thought it looked cool, but But, while he was sleeping that night, the Scarab activated, crawled onto his back, and attached itself to his spine. After the whole Ted Cord incident, Booster Gold, Ted's best friend, decided to go to the future to figure out what the heck is going on and how he can fix it all. And that's when he realizes the only way they can save the day is with the new Blue Beetle, who's going to be showing up around this time. So Jaime wakes up to find this guy in a blue and gold spandex just standing in his room, just staring at him.
Ooh. Sorry. Cats are being weird.
Alright, so Jaime takes it surprisingly well, despite the fact that his, Booster's robot also x-rayed his body and showed him the mechanical beetle now wrapped around his spinal column, and basically said, hey, Booster basically said, we gotta go save the world, get some clothes on, we're going to the Batcave. So they went to the Batcave. They met up with Batman, who was recruiting a team to go look for Brother Eye and stop it before things get bad. Alright, so they go into space, Jaime's Beetle activates, and he gets covered in this, blue suit of armor, and he has all these, well, he doesn't really know what he can do, but he's able to use the Scarab to track down Brother Eye because it was cloaked, but apparently the Scarab is kind of afraid of the Green Lanterns that are on this mission. So, at the first opportunity, it just phase shifts, and Jaime's just gone. But the thing is, Jaime's actually still there, and so while a big battle's going on, Jaime's just screaming to the other heroes, do not leave me behind! I'm still here! You're superheroes, you can't leave me here! I'm in space! Somebody save me! Because this is Jaime's first day on the job, he's never dealt with aliens before, he never had to save the world before, it's all very overwhelming for him. But again, taking it surprisingly well up until right now. But yeah, so the Beetle eventually takes him back to Earth. But while he's down there, he immediately gets jumped by a Green Lantern. Guy Gardner, to be specific. Guy Gardner is the Green Lantern with anger issues, I guess you could say. Yeah, he has this... Okay, basically, if you want backstory on Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan was selected to be the Earth's Green Lantern. But then they had to select a new Green Lantern, which was John Stewart. But then it turned out there was this other guy who was an option. But
John Stewart, the reporter. I'm sorry, that's an old person joke, probably.
No, he gets that joke a lot.
Okay.
They use that joke in the cartoon.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm not too off there.
Yeah. All right, so John Stewart was out of commission for a while, so they needed to pick a new auxiliary Green Lantern, and that happened to be Guy Gardner. If John Stewart wasn't around, then Guy Gardner would have gotten the ring. So yeah, suddenly after all this time, Jaime makes it back to Earth, he gets jumped by a Green Lantern, and Guy Gardner's just shouting, I'm going to kill you! Over and over again. And Jaime's never really been in a fight before, so even with his magic beetle, he's still losing. He's about to get crushed to death by one of the Green Lantern's constructs. But the Scarab peels away, revealing his face, and Guy Gardner realizes he's about to kill a kid. So he stops himself and just starts yelling at his rings, I don't hurt kids, and pulls away from the assault. His justification is that, apparently whatever the Scarab is, Green Lantern technology does not agree with it. And he heads off into space to figure out what's going on, leaving Jaime to wander back home through the desert by himself.
That's not a big move.
Yeah, but, he almost killed this guy. It was probably just an awkward situation. Also, his ring is telling him to kill him immediately. It's probably best that he left as soon as he did. But Jaime manages to make it home, and his family is relieved and kind of angry to see him, because it turns out he disappeared a year ago. So they're like, what the heck happened? Where have you been? Are you on drugs? Are you okay? And Jaime,
why did he disappear?
Because Booster Gold showed up in his bedroom and told him he needed to save the world.
Oh, okay, so that whole timeline
it turns out
was a whole year.
Yeah, that whole phase-shifting thing. Apparently sends you through time, too. Or maybe it was relativity, who knows. But yeah, so Jaime's been gone for a year. He suddenly has to reacclimate to his life. His family asks, where have you been? And Jaime responds with, I have superpowers, and I was recruited to go save the world. I was with Batman and the Green Lanterns. So of course they don't believe him. Yeah, they don't believe him. So, of course, he has to transform right in front of him. And okay, so his little sister screams and runs away. His mother, also kind of in shock, runs out with her, and his dad is like, just power down, we'll sort this out. And so that was pretty much the start of his career. It smoothed out down the road. He reunited with his best friends Paco and Brenda. Paco is this underachiever. He's just the cool best friend who doesn't try very hard at anything. Brenda, however, is the overachiever, who's, the snarky best friend who tries hard at everything. Well, he tells them right away what happened. And this is kind of thing that makes Jaime an interesting superhero, an interesting departure from other superheroes. And you saw in the trailer here, his family is 100% aware of his second life. And to make things even more interesting...
The world isn't?
Well, no, he does have a secret identity. It's just that he tells the people close to him.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the best way I heard it explained is that basically Blue Beetle zigs where Spider-Man zags. Where Spider-Man keeps his identity very close to the chest. Jaime just tells the people he knows he can trust. It makes his life a lot less complicated.
Until they tell someone.
Yeah, that's kind of the drawback. Like, his family is very supportive, which is, like I said, it's kind of a thing that sets Blue Beetle apart. He has a very, very solid support system. Like, he's just surrounded by people who love and care about him and know about his major secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, his support circle actually gets bigger from there on, because he has all sorts of mentors throughout his first run. The most important one being Peacemaker, of all people.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's...
I'm not sure support or mentor for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same John Cena Peacemaker. Like multiple characters have the same names over the years, legacies and whatnot. This particular Peacemaker has he started basically a non-lethal weapons company. So he is a mercenary, but he's a mercenary who does his best not to kill. Yeah, so yeah, definitely not the Peacemaker you're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, I would hope not.
But yeah, Peacemaker is just... Okay, so he was investigating that tomb that the original Dan Garrett found the Scarab in. And it turns out he got, his mind fried when he tried to touch the pedestal that it was on. Turns out it's a charging unit, of all things. And and he got... Basically, a bunch of information got downloaded into his brain. And he knows what the Scarab is. It's not magical at all. It's alien tech. Which Guy Gardner actually informed Jaime of. It turns out when the ring detects magic, it actually gives off a buzz, not whatever the Scarab was doing to it. But yeah, so it's confirmed. This is actually alien tech, and it was designed to infiltrate planets. Okay, I'll go ahead and give the rundown now. The Beetle was created by an alien race called the Reach. And the Reach got into a huge galactic war with the whole Green Lantern Corps.
Ah, makes sense.
Yeah, the thing is, though, the Green Lanterns are one of the most powerful organizations in the universe, or at least one of them. It turns out the Reach is the other extremely powerful organization in the universe, or at least one of them. So the battle came to a stalemate. They were basically forced into a truce, and that truce was the Reach cannot conquer any more worlds, and the Blue Lanterns and the Green Lanterns won't fight them. Which honestly, it sounds like the Green Lanterns got the better end of that deal.
Right.
Okay, you do exactly what we want you to do, and we will not interfere with you doing what we want you to do.
Basically. It sounds like they just won.
Yeah, it does. Okay, but the Reach weren't about to give up on their dreams of galactic conquest that easily, so they just got sneakier about it. You see, the Reach do come to Earth, and they come with open arms, they come with gifts, and they actually follow Earth's mandate for intergalactic, contacts, because, this is a comic book universe. They get invaded by aliens all the time. None of them follow protocol. They're all... So, the Reach actually puts in the effort to do things the right way, introduce themselves, let the world know they aren't a threat.
And then end up being a threat.
Yeah, okay. So you see the Reach's strategy for taking over worlds is to basically make the world like them first, and then they'll cause a big disaster that only that only the Reach's technology can help with, and the Reach is gonna be there like, we can help you, you just have to do this. And then suddenly the world find themselves enslaved and dependent on the Reach.
Yeah, sounds about right.
There's also they'll also start like leaking chemicals into our water supply and food that will also slowly degrade our ability to resist whatever they're tempting us with. Dampening our abilities to like call their BS. This Jaime figured all this out because he's an infiltrator. The Blue Beetle was actually supposed to be sent to Earth to like discern what are your weaknesses, what are your defenses. You need to become a great hero, so we already look good by the time we get there. That kind of stuff. It's like they sent the Blue Beetle to be like their mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like a branding tool meant to support the Reach.
And they can see. Sorry, I was about to ask a dumb question. Sorry.
Go ahead and ask it.
No. It was one of those like, oh, I have the answer. There's no reason to ask this question.
Okay. All right. So the thing, they came to Earth expecting the their infiltrator to be infiltrating, doing what it was programmed to do, but they come to find out that it's actually broken. The reason Jaime's in control of his scarab is because over the years it's been so badly damaged by like magical attacks and whatnot that it's just malfunctioning and it can't control its host like it's supposed to.
Does it have anything to do with like the scarabs in Egypt? Like, you know how like they love scarabs? Well, is there any connection? It's just
I just realized this isn't the first time I've heard of a main character superhero who gets a scarab like power.
Who's the other one?
Moon Knight.
Yep.
All right, I still haven't watched Moonlight Night, as you can tell. Well, I assume they call it the scarab because it looks like a beetle, and they found it in an Egyptian tomb, so just put the dots together there. All right, but yeah, so Jaime eventually, Jaime had to work in order to convince everyone that the Reach were bad news, because, they were all over TV. They were doing good deeds. They were the one aliens to show up in mass that weren't trying to conquer them. So, they just ruined this for all other potential, alien immigrants. But yeah, Jaime eventually exposes them to the world, and he does it in a pretty clever way, actually. He allows himself to be captured so he can infiltrate their ship. And the Beetle is actually forcibly stripped from him. So now he's just trapped on this ship, completely naked, because apparently the Beetle took his clothes. But this was all part of his plan. He actually manages to escape, make his way to the command chamber, and input some type of code into the computer system. But that's when he gets jumped and captured again. And at this
I'm guessing he knows the code because he's one with the scarab. Not at that moment, but just in sense of like.
Well, I assume he learned how to use their computers through the scarab, but the code came from Earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he just inputted that to mess with the system, and that's when he got captured. So the Reach are trying to decode whatever gibberish he just put into the system, and they had enough of this kid. So they ask him, any last words? So Jaime screams, Kaji Da! And the scarab, way on a tray somewhere, activates itself, flies to Jaime, and transforms them back into his Blue Beetle form. Because the two of them have decided to work together. Turns out Kaji Da isn't like an activation phrase or anything, it's the scarab's name. Kaji Da actually means Infiltrator 12. And over the years of working with, Dan, basically kind of noticing what Ted was up to, and this past year or so, spending time with Jaime, the scarab learned right from wrong. It learned to be a hero, and it wants to work with Jaime. So this is when they reveal that the code that Jaime put in really was just gibberish. It just needed to distract them while he got back to the scarab, and the scarab did its thing by messing with the system for real. And by messing with the system, I mean he shut down all their camouflage, sent all of their, infiltration information to Earth's powers, shut down their cloaking devices to reveal their machines that have been pumping chemicals into the water supply, and everything the Reach was trying to do has been undone. In a last-ditch effort, the head Reach operative called the Negotiator tried to self-destruct, send. Now, if they can't have Earth, they're at least gonna screw it up real bad before they leave. But Jaime was already on top of that. He plugged himself into the system to, well, basically delay its explosion until they were safely away from Earth. But he would die with it. Thankfully,
why are they conquering Earth for? Like, what is their like goal? Just to do it, or
they just want
resources?
Yeah, they just want to strip mine for resources. The thing is, though, they're really patient. This takeover scheme was actually on a 100 years timetable. It's kind of like, okay, year 1, we send a scarab. Year 2, that scarab becomes a big time hero. Year 3, we show up to like say we're the good guys and offer stuff. And then another 97 years down the road, we can take over the world. And then start strip mining it. The Reach are patient. The thing that screwed them over, though, is that they're so focused on sticking to their timetables and, plans that they developed over centuries that they aren't really quick to adapt. So they had really no idea how to deal with Jaime and his malfunctioning scarab.
Who let this angry teenager in here, and why is he ruining my plans?
Essentially, yes. Thankfully, before Jaime had to sacrifice himself, Booster Gold showed up through the time stream and pulled him into it to save his life. So, the day is saved, and Jaime's officially a superhero. You know how much I love a hero in training, and that's pretty much all Blue Beetle's first solo book was. Just him figuring out how to do this job, meeting different mentors, and just learning as he goes.
I think that was a pretty good introduction for before the Blue Beetle movie comes out.
Yeah, I didn't really mention what the Blue Beetle's powers were, and that's largely because they're kind of all over the place.
The lady in the video said anything you can imagine. It sounds pretty much like one of the lanterns, but like with more of like a active AI with it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's just that okay, I can handle summoning weapons. That's pretty cool. You can summon laser cannons, summon swords, but when you have the ability to just like phase out of reality, that's a bit overpowered to me. Like,
yeah,
part of the plan to defeat the Reach in the first volume was to subtly shift yourself through time so it appears that you're in 3 different locations at once, and Kajida can just do that.
Cool.
I mean, with Dan Garrett, it was even more insane. Yeah, like he was telepathic at one point. Basically, whatever the story called for, he could do. I feel like our current Blue Beetle's the same way, Jaime, but somehow it doesn't feel like he's ever overpowered. Like he always still seems to struggle in a fight, even though it feels like he really shouldn't.
I hate those. I hate those like fights where they're like the episode before whatever they learn some super cool move, and then it's like they forget and they just never do it again. And it's like it's basically like the Flash. Anytime the Flash is dealing with an issue, it's like, bro, you're like you can time travel. Like none of these people, no one can stop you. Like through.
I think Blue Beetle gets away with it because it kind of feels like well, it's limited by Jaime, and
right.
Well, he's under a lot of pressure at this situation. Like he can't really come up with like a clever plan to get out of it, so he just punches and kicks and shoots.
Almost like he just doesn't know how to use it to full potential.
Yeah, or he's just panicking, so he's going with the most basic, straightforward solution.
Interesting. I don't know how you would panic when you have like one of the best weapons ever.
Well, me personally, if I have the best weapon ever, someone's coming after me with intent to kill, I'm probably going to try to deal with them as fast as possible.
They're going to die. That plain and simple.
Probably. I mean, honestly, there's probably civilians and stuff around too, so that's also an issue when you're a superhero. I mean, with Fade Away, Spydo is kind of like, okay, I can't shoot you because you'll just fade through my laser beams. I can't stab you because you'll just fade through my stabbing. But I can distract you with the laser beam while I run up and punch you.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, the thing is, though, it wasn't even a knockout punch. Like, you punched him in the jaw, Fade Away said, ow, and then faded away. And Jaime lost him. Yeah, apparently, Jaime's been, tracking Fade Away for months at this point, and he still doesn't have a solid plan for how to capture him.
I could see Fade Away always being like, I'll get you.
Yeah,
With
that's
that like echo that fades away. The world is mine.
That's the thing, though. Fadeaway doesn't even want to deal with Blue Beetle. His mission is literally to steal stuff and give it back to people. Give it back to other people.
That seems like a little bit like petty for Blue Beetle to even deal with.
Well, the thing about Blue Beetle is that he's, well, okay, you heard about D-list supervillains, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, those are the supervillains that you kind of have, like, out of the way that you pull out whenever you just need, like, a one-off fight for an episode, or for, like, younger heroes to cut their teeth on. Like, the journeyman of the supervillain world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Blue Beetle is kind of in that zone. He's not very well known, so he usually handles the lower tier threats. You know, his job, he has cosmic level powers, but he's a street level superhero.
Which makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense in the comic book world, but it doesn't make sense in the actual world that the comics are in.
Well, it's kind of like Jaime doesn't exactly have like an organization of space cops to work with.
Right, so he just finds the closest criminal he can to beat up.
Pretty much, like, well, yeah, he just, okay, that guy's robbing a bank. I have the power to stop him. I'll go do that.
So I guess I would have to do the same too.
Yeah. Plus, he's still going to school. Still lives with his parents. He's still working things out. He hasn't really hit that level of I gotta go into space and fight Cthulhu or something yet. There was actually his stories are pretty interesting because of that. Like, there was a street gang called the Posse, and they were just like random metahumans just came together to help each other out. Like, they're technically criminals, but more like, okay, like, we'll launder some money, we'll do some bodyguarding work for, like, nefarious people. We don't sell drugs or anything. And if Blue Beetle needs some information, we'll happily give it to him, especially if it helps out the neighborhood. They tried to give Blue Beetle his own, rogues gallery a couple of times, but they keep defaulting to, like, just dusting off some superheroes from the bin and having Jaime fight that. Which, I can understand that, honestly. Like, DC has such a catalog of villains that they just don't use. It's been nearly 100 years. They created a lot of characters. It's like, I could create a new one to throw in the bin later, or I could just reach into this bin and pull out one of the old toys. I guess one of the, Ladama was an interesting villain for Jaime. Ladama is Brenda's aunt. She's also a crime boss, but she's a crime boss that's into magic. But the thing is, she actually truly cares about Brenda and will make sure no harm ever comes to her. So Jaime is kind of in at a standstill on how to handle her, because she also knows who he is, because Jaime is really bad at keeping a secret. So the deal is kind of, hey, you don't mess with my ventures, I don't tell anyone who you are. That's much of a threat as that can be at this point. It's likely that Ladama had Brenda's father killed because he was abusive and put her in the hospital.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. So she has a much better life with her crime boss aunt. So that's like another reason why Jaime can't really just take her down. Plus, she's been kind of pulling away from illegal activity ever since Brenda moved in. So Ladama has some complexity to her. But there was this other villain they tried during the New 52 called Stopwatch. Yeah, basically he's a time traveler. Well, he's an attempted time traveler whose experiment blew up in his face. So now he can, like, only control time locally in short bursts. Honestly, I found that guy really confusing. But yeah, that's all I really got for notable villains for Blue Beetle. The Reach is pretty much, what his domain was.
You want to think who Susan Sarandon, like what villain Susan Sarandon's going to be playing in Blue Beetle.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if I could, during that trailer, I was wondering if I could see any, like, hints on who the villain's gonna be. But you don't see anyone.
I don't like no trailers. I really was kind of like upset about the trailer. Like, I didn't want to see this.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling you feel that way, but I felt like I had to do it.
Yeah, you know exactly how I am with trailers. But
yeah,
at the same time, I know they're gonna like shove this trailer in my face eventually, and I'm just gonna see it.
I know. I figured I would probably I figured I'd be explaining some stuff that might come up anyway.
Uh-huh.
I think it's nice though that like the Blue Beetle trailer didn't show anything on who the villain is, like what the powers are going to be or anything. It mostly just showed, hey, this kid's got superpowers.
Yeah, my best guess is that
he doesn't know what he's doing.
My best guess is that one red-haired lady is probably Ladama.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon. I don't know who she would play.
Yeah,
like I don't really know who the villains are.
I assume that girl who was talking about anything you can imagine may have been Brenda, or it may have been Dan Garrett's daughter.
Now, wasn't the Scarab? The Scarab doesn't talk?
It does, but that's Gajida. That was the robot voice you heard.
Right, I thought that was the Scarab that said that.
No, it was. Yeah, it was the human who found it.
Oh, okay.
I just think they did a really good job designing this costume. I'm not sure if people have just gotten more, better at making faithful renditions of comic book outfits, or if Blue Beetle was just designed to be on screen. But yeah, I think that's all I got for now.
That was a lot. So,
I guess so.
Gave me more insight on them before I go see the movie at some point.
Good to hear. Any final words, guys? In that case, a new shade of blue. Tuning out.
DeadSpyderPlays tuning out.
Nueve Six.